Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Percy Dehne. This is your weather for January 11, 2017. And you can also follow us on the website weather.gov/Alaska, or even call us at 1-800-472-0391. For tonight, starting out with hazards, over the western Kenai, the Matanuska Valley, as well as the Anchorage Bowl, we have a dense fog advisory. That'll be in effect until 9 a.m. Thursday. Look for visibilities a quarter mile or less at times. And then over the southeast panhandle, we have a winter storm watch from Friday afternoon through Saturday morning, and that's going to be for the Lynn Canal in the Haynesboro, as well as the Hyder region. And look for snow 6 to 10 inches for the Lynn Canal region, that area. And then a little heavier, more accumulation for Hyder region, 10 to 14 inches there. And then farther north, we have a winter advisory for blowing snow, and that remains in effect until 6 a.m. Thursday. And that's going to be for the eastern Beaufort Sea region. Look for winds westerly gusting to 50 miles per hour. Look for visibilities a half a mile at less at times, and your snow accumulation will be 1 to 3 inches in that region. Starting off with the satellite tonight, as I put in the loop, we have a low pressure system, a weak one, moving into the Barrow region, and this with a trailing cold front pushing down through the Chukchi Sea. To put it in the loop again here, you can see the flow just pushing down, and again the cooler air will be coming on right on the back side of that system there. Otherwise, all along the eastern Beaufort region, you're going to have plenty of cloud cover and northerly winds here. There's a low pressure system sitting farther east, but a cold front swinging through this region. So that's why they have that blowing snow advisory out there. Otherwise, through the Bering, you're going to have a northerly flow, continued east flow going across the Bering, and you'll have the cooler air filtering in from the north, and so you'll have scattered snow showers in that region. Over the southeast, we have pretty much high pressure dominating the Gulf, extending just south of Hattagai region, so pretty much clear skies, a little bit of clouds farther north as you get to higher elevations, but in the Anchorage Bowl, you can see some clouds forming in here, some low stratus forming in the western Kenai region as well. So plenty of cloud cover tonight in the Anchorage Bowl, western Kenai, and the Matanuska Valley. Otherwise, the continued easterly flow, the main system that's going to be pushing up here later is a strong occluded front, low pressure system, that is North Pacific, that's going to be moving along just south of the chain and then moving into the Gulf. But this predominantly easterly flow will bring plenty of cloud cover and continuing warmer temperatures throughout along the chain. Today's weather, again, the Bering predominantly by scattered snow showers. Farther north here is that low pressure system I was talking about, and a trailing warm front and a cold front extending over the Dead Horse region. Again, blowing snow and northerly winds, plenty of moisture, so you'll have some issues there through tomorrow morning. Along the northern coastline, you're going to have the fog issues, as I mentioned before, with the western Kenai, the Cook Inlet extending up the Matanuska Valley. Otherwise, along the southeast panhandle, you're going to have a stationary front, a little bit of moisture in the interior, but otherwise predominantly high pressure just south at 1025 millibar high sitting over the North Pacific. Otherwise, westerly flow, and you're going to have pretty good conditions there. Tonight's forecast, this low pressure system moved farther east, east of the Dead Horse in the Beaufort Sea region. Otherwise, a trailing cold front will push farther south. Again, behind it, more cooler air and continued snow showers in along the Brooks Range and extending up along the Arctic coastline. In the Bering, pretty much all predominantly easterly flow, scattered snow showers there. The south of the chain, you're going to have this warm swath of warmer temperatures coming in and strong easterly winds. That'll bring a swath of rain just south of the chain. The wintry mix as you go towards, start heading towards Atka and Adak. The southeast, you got a weak trough that's going to be pushing on shore. So for tonight, look for snow showers starting to develop through the northern portions extending to the Yakutat region. Otherwise, high pressure dominating throughout the Gulf. Thursday's forecast, the weak low pressure system will continue to fill, and then that stationary front will reform along the southeast panhandle. The interior wintry mix, but Lynn Canal and Hyder region, you're going to have higher elevations there, so you're going to have predominantly all snow. That's why they put out the going into Friday, they have that winter storm watch. But south of it, you're going to have that strong occluded front, so strong southerly winds bringing a swath of rain and moisture coming into the Gulf. Otherwise, a trailing occluded front that's just south of the central to eastern Aleutians. Otherwise, farther north, you have that weak trough that'll continue to push through. You'll have that blowing snow issues from Dead Horse eastward, and that'll remain in the morning. Otherwise, they'll start to diminish as that trough pushes through. Otherwise, northerly flow, continued cooler air, so continued snow extending all the way down to the Bering. You get a wintry mix as you get out towards the western Aleutians with this warmer air starting to push in here. Friday's forecast, here's that strong 970 millibar low that's pushing up just south of Kodiak, trailing a occluded front extending along the Alaska Peninsula into Alaska Range. Then as it trails over, it becomes a warm front just south of the southeast panhandle, south of Hattagui, and then strong southeasterly flow, so you're going to have a lot of strong winds moving on shore of the southeast panhandle. Blowing snow issues there and the higher elevations, and a wintry mix just south of Lynn Canal. But over the Fairbanks region, again, strong gradient here. You have blowing snow issues there, farther up north to just south of the Brooks Range. Otherwise, continued northeast flow will be on the Arctic coastline. And then you'll have some below snow issues, but scattered snow in different areas. Primarily all northeasterly flow extending through the Bering, so continued snow in that region on and off. Otherwise, wintry mix with this system, with that warmer air pushing in just west of Kodiak and extending along the eastern Kenai. And the temperature as 1 p.m., not surprising with this warm air being pushed up. The warmest temperatures are along the eastern Aleutians, 39 there at Dutch, and then 39 at Sandpoint as well. Over Kodiak, 35. Antioch came in at 35. Then Cape Milton Island, 39. Valdez is 21. A little cooler in the Copper River Basin, -7. Otherwise, the southeast panhandle, again, this westerly flow, onshore flow, warm air with this high pressure just sitting south of Hattagui. The high temperature was 37 there at Sitka, 36 at Kloak. Temperatures 1 p.m. farther north, the coolest as you can see through the interior there, -15 at Bettles and -10 at Ambler. Barrow coming in at -2. The warmest was 20 at Barter Island there, and 16 at Dead Horse. You go along northwest, again, northerly flow is not surprising. You got cooler temperatures. You got -2 there at Point Hope, and slightly modified with a little warmer air there at Tin City, and then San Fagunga is 27 degrees there at St. Lawrence Island. As 1 p.m. along the chain, and not, again, as I mentioned before, not surprising, it's the warmest with its easterly flow and that strong southerly push of air, or southeasterly push. You got 39 at Adak and Atka, and a little cooler, just slightly there at Shemi at 37 degrees, and then the Pribilofs, St. Paul coming in at 30 degrees. Tonight's low temperatures, again, not surprising, you're going to be over the northern portion of the state there, -3 at Barter Island, and then 9 at Barrow. A little cooler as you go northwest coastline, -5 there at, at Point Hope. And then as you go down, you got 22 at the Pribilofs. The southeast will be the warmest again with the westerly flow. You got 33 there at Sitka coming in, the highest temperature. The Anchorage Bowl, you're going to have 5 degrees at Anchorage. Coolest in the Copper River Basin, not surprising, to minus 20 there at Galcana. Tomorrow's high temperatures, again, along the chain, you're going to be at 38 to 39 all the way out to the Shemya. And it starts to get little lower temperatures as you get the eastern Aleutians, 13 at King Salmon along the Alaska Peninsula, and then 15 at Dillingham. The southeast Copper River Basin, that is, again, that's minus 8 there. They're not surprising, they're cool there. The coolest looks like through the AKwx Pass of minus 16. And then minus 5 again at Barrow. The southeast Panhandle, minus 40 coming in at Sitka, the tomorrow's high, as well as a high of 36 there at Kloak. Flying weather, marginal to IFR conditions, again, over the northwest coastline and east of Dead Horse along the eastern Brooks Range. Again, that's with that cold front starting to drape through, and then with the other weak stationary front in this region. The southeast, you're going to have marginal VFR conditions with westerly flow, some fog issues tomorrow morning. And then in the Anchorage Bowl, Matanuska Valley, as well as the Kenai, you'll have some IFR conditions, marginal VFR, and they'll start breaking up. And as well as along the central to western Aleutians with this next system. By the afternoon, you'll start clearing up a little bit along the western Aleutians, along the central Aleutians, but along the western, they'll be back to continued marginal VFR. Farther north is that northerly flow. You'll have continued IFR conditions along the Seward Peninsula as well as the northwest coastline and along the eastern Brooks Range. The southeast, to the northern Gulf coastline, again, marginal VFR conditions, and now move inland also, as well. Tomorrow's flight conditions, AKwx, IFR to marginal VFR, Adigan, IFR to marginal VFR, Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR conditions, rainy VFR conditions, and then windy VFR conditions, Isabel VFR conditions, and Mentasca VFR conditions, and the Tanita VFR conditions, Portage, marginal VFR conditions, Chillicook and White, marginal VFR conditions, and then tomorrow morning's freezing levels. Not surprising, the freezing level is going to be at the surface there, pretty much through the central to northern bearing as the northerly flow comes in, bringing the cooler air. And then along the northern coastline, extending to the southeast panhandle, all along there as well. A little higher freezing temperatures, freezing levels in the central Gulf there, with the in the western Gulf with the high pressure and westerly winds, and then the high pressure south of Hattaway is not surprising, it's higher down there as well, to 4,000 feet. And then south of the chain, you're going to have 2,000 to 4,000. Again, those will continue to rise as this strong occluded low pressure system moves into the Gulf here. Tomorrow's icing, you'll have light to occasional moderate, basically from Seward all the way up along the Arctic coastline, and that's going to be below 6,000. Again, and that's with that system that's going through. And then below 3,000 along Dutch, and then it'll start raising up a little bit farther as you go westward to Shemya, and that's below 7,000. Tomorrow's jet stream, here's that strong subtropical jet, 160 knots. Then it transitions to southerly, 120 knots, and then weakens somewhat as you get near Kodiak, 65. And then it ramps up again, northwesterly flow along the southeast panhandle, 110 knots, and dips down and becomes southwesterly on the bottom side of that low pressure system, or the lower 48. Otherwise, your high pressure over the eastern Siberia, so you have strong northerly flow, 65 knots, and it's all zonal 90 through the central interior all the way out as you go eastward. And then you have low pressure systems sitting over the Arctic, and that's a southerly jet stream, 50 knots. Tomorrow's 9,000 foot winds. You're going to have 10 to 15 knots, or 20 knots on the strongest on the backside is this cyclonic flow over here, the low pressure system sitting in the interior. Otherwise, you got high pressure over the western, over the Siberian region, and then you're going to have northerly flow, and it transitions to easterly flow, 30 to 25 knots. Then easterly flow here, strongest along the chain, 35. Again, with that strong occluded system that's starting to push up. The southeast high pressure system sitting just south of Hattaway. So you're going to have a strong southerly winds, 40 to 35 knots, and it transitions to westerly and weakens 25 to 30 as you go inland. Tomorrow's 3,000-foot winds, predominantly all northerly winds, 20 to 30 knots, the strongest over the Chukchi and the northern Bering, and then it's all easterly as you go through the Bering. Again, the strongest along the chain and the western with 35 knots. South of the chain, 45 knots easterly, again with that strong occluded system pushing in. The southeast, you're going to have a weak high pressure system, again extending down through the ridge, that is, extending down through the southeast panhandle. So southerly winds 20 knots, and then weakens to westerly at 10 knots. Tomorrow's turbulence, you're going to have light to occasional moderate, and that's going to be below 3,000 from basically from Dutch all the way out to Adak and Atka, and that's with that easterly flow and strong wind gradient right there in that region. We'll be back with the Marines after this.
Welcome back to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm meteorologist Dave Snider, and we have a special guest in the studio today. We welcome Amanda Terborg of the Aviation Weather Center. Thanks for joining us, Amanda.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Amanda's flown in all the way from Kansas City, and for those of you that don't know, the Aviation Weather Center serves the lower 48 for aviators, just as the Alaska Aviation Weather Unit here in Anchorage serves all of Alaska. So I kind of wonder, what's the Aviation Weather Center in Kansas City doing to help out Alaska, Amanda?
Yeah, you know, we do a lot of collaboration work with our sister station up here. Lately, we've been doing a lot of work, especially in the satellite meteorology.
Okay.
In particular, we have been looking at ways to better identify icing conditions in clouds, which is a big deal up here because, as I'm coming to find out, even though I'm not from here, you guys have a lot of pilots here.
You have a lot of pilots. In fact, it's, when you say you can't get there from here, that's how you get there.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, so with icing potential then, what's Kansas City working on?
Well, we are working on something that will help us, again, identify the icing in the clouds. You don't want ice on your aircraft.
No.
Not only does it add a whole bunch of extra weight to your airframe when it attaches to the wings and the nose cone, but it can also mess with your aerodynamics.
Right.
And in the most serious conditions, that can mess with it enough that you can actually crash.
It changes the shape of the wing, and that makes it sometimes impossible to fly, right?
It does, yeah. So we want to figure out a way to better forecast for that.
Makes sense.
Now this particular image is over Alaska. The colors here are a little goofy. It doesn't look like your run-of-the-mill satellite image.
Okay.
But the red is where you have liquid clouds and the blue is ice. But again, it really doesn't tell you a lot where you have icing conditions in that cloud. Because in those clouds there's little droplets, and they're cold, and they're actually below freezing, but they're still liquid, and that makes them sticky.
Okay.
So when an aircraft flies through there, those droplets are sticking to the aircraft, and it can happen amazingly fast.
Right.
And so that's what we're trying to find. And there is a product called the Aircraft Flight Icing Threat that does this. And it's basically looking at the temperature of the cloud, and it's also looking at the size of the droplets to identify a probability and intensity of those icing conditions.
Okay.
And if you flip to the next image, this is a case from Juneau, Alaska, where this probably wouldn't have been the best day to fly around Juneau.
Okay.
Now there was an area of moisture that pushed south from the southwest up along the coast that pushed in a stratus layer. And in the stratus layer there was a lot of those super cooled liquid drops, or a lot of stickiness.
Okay.
And so the flight icing threat was able to, in the pinks and the reds there, was able to identify where that icing was. Now this is really cool. You know, it's really cool to be able to identify that. There is, you know, of course, caveats to every product. Much as we wish it would happen, sun doesn't shine all the time, unless, I guess, if you live in northern Alaska during the summertime.
Right.
But we need that sun to be able to bounce off those clouds and to be able to see where those super cool drops are.
Okay, so it's a daytime only tool.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right now, of course, you know, we're in the era of advanced satellite technology, and there is a satellite that can actually use moonlight to see clouds.
Yes.
And so sometime in the future, we hope to be able to do that.
Okay.
Another thing that is a bit of a challenge is multiple layers of clouds. You know, you can only see so far through a thick cloud.
Okay.
And if it's thick enough, sometimes you can't see a layer of icing that's below there.
Right.
But even besides those caveats, this product has a lot of potential to help out Alaskan aviators here.
Well, it sounds like a really big deal, and something that forecasters at the Alaska Aviation Weather Unit could use probably on a daily basis, and especially in the middle of a really big storm.
Yeah, I would think so.
Do you have a really good success story in the lower 48 using this tool?
You know, it's a fairly new product, and so we're still evaluating it. But yeah, we've had a lot of cases where we have seen that it does tend to capture those icing conditions.
Okay, very good. Well, Amanda, thanks so much for sharing some of the very interesting satellite imagery and the tools that you're using there at the Aviation Weather Center in Kansas City with us here in Alaska. People can probably find some of this information online, right?
Yeah, here is a website here. It's a page from NASA Langley, and they have this imagery as well as a bunch of other satellite imagery that you can take a look at.
Okay, great. And I'm sure our friends at the Alaska Aviation Weather Center and the unit will be using that in the coming months there with your training and your help there to learn more about that tool to help Alaska aviators any day of the year. That's wonderful stuff. So thanks again for joining us, Amanda, and we welcome you to view any of our Alaska weather facts on YouTube anytime at the address below, and we'll see you next time.
Now starting off with our today's sea ice through the upper Cook Inlet. It's frozen waters there, and this will continue to build as you go farther south in the Cook Inlet as we get cooler temperatures in here. Along the through the Beaufort Sea and Chuckachee Sea, northerly flow, so the areas in blue here are less than 80% concentration. Those will continue to fill in, as well as along the northwest coastline, again with the cooler air starting to filter in. So look for this to continue to, the ice to continue to solidify and expand as it goes to the south with the northerly flow. Thursday's marine forecast for the southeast, you're going to have in the inside waters basically southerly push 20 knots. The outside waters pretty much southwest to southerly 20 knots. Wave heights 6 to 8 feet on the outside waters. Then for Friday, that's when the stronger wind gradient gets in here with a strong occluded low that's going to be pushing up into the Gulf. So you can see the inside waters, you're going to have gale force winds in the entrance, 35 knots with higher gusts, southeasterly 25 and diminishing to 20 southerly there at Lynn Canal. Outside waters, predominantly all southerly gale force winds and higher gusts with the wind gradient, the pressure gradient increasing. And the wave heights will be ranging from 18 feet and a little lower in the inside waters. Thursday's marine forecast for south central, northerly flow again through the Prince William Sound region and then easterly flow coming along the eastern Kenai. Then the inside waters, you're going to have northerly flow 10 to 20 knots, a little stronger on the southern end of the Cook Inlet, and then northwesterly flow through and through the Berings, and then predominantly all northeasterly through on both sides of the Kodiak Island. And then for Friday, continued northeasterly flow, northerly flow through the Cook Inlet, and then gale force winds northwesterly that you get the cooler air in there and producing gusty winds. So you're going to have gale force there coming through the Barren Islands. Then small craft northwesterly through the Shelikof region, as well as coming through the Kodiak region on the east side of the island. And then northeast winds 30 knots, small craft through the Prince William Sound region, and then southeasterly as you go just outside just south of Cape Suckling there. Thursday's marine forecast along the Alaska Peninsula, pretty much all northeasterly flow, both on the Bering and the Pacific side, 30 knots. You will be gale force there as you get on the Bering side, north of Cold Bay. Friday's marine forecast, pretty much all northerly, becoming northwesterly through the Shelikof Islands region, but otherwise gale force on the Bering side there along just west of Perryville, extending out to the Cape Sarychef. Then Thursday for Aleutians, you're going to predominantly all northeasterly flow. Gale force winds 35 knots. Wave heights will range from anywhere 15 to 18 feet, highest on the Pacific side. And then Friday, continued northeasterly flow, gale force winds 35 knots, slightly going to small craft as you head out to Shemya, but otherwise it's still pretty strong there. Otherwise, wave heights again will range from 16 to 18 feet. The Thursday marine forecast for the west coast, northerly flow, cooler air coming in, so you're going to have freezing spray issues through the northern and central Bering, as well as the eastern Bering and the Bristol Bay region. Gale force winds will be northerly through the Bristol Bay region and northeasterly through the Pribilos area. West Coast for Friday, predominantly all northerly, gale force winds in that cool air, 35 knots through the Bristol Bay, Kuskokwim Belt, Delta area, and northeast through the Pribilof region. Along the Arctic coastline for Thursday, you're going to have predominantly all northerly flow, and then a little stronger going through the Bering Strait, and then the westerly flow just east of Barrow. And then Friday, predominantly all northerly flow, 15 to 25 knots going through the Bering Strait, and then northeasterly east of Barrow, and then easterly there from Katovik. Tonight's forecast, again, you got that that cold front that's extending through the along the Brooks Range, so you're going to have that cooler air there. So you have snow showers, scattered showers, and then the blowing snow issues again there from Dead Horse east. In the Gulf, you have that weak low pressure system with that trough extending along the southeast panhandle, onshore flow there. So you're going to have some snow issues there for the northern portions of the southeast panhandle, extending to Yakutat. And then along the through the Bering, predominantly all easterly flow, scattered snow showers there. And then south of the chain, you're going to have that southeasterly gradient coming in with a warmer air pushing in. So you're going to have some light rain that's going to start filtering in along the chain. And Thursday's forecast, weak troughs still continue to push through. The blowing snow issues will remain in the morning, then they'll start to diminish as that trough pushes through. Otherwise, a tight gradient northerly flow through the Bering Strait, and then easterly actually extend through the Bering. So continued snow throughout that region. The northeast, and again, you have stationary front, onshore flow, so you're going to have wintry mix, and then more higher elevation, you're going to have all snow through Lynn Canal as well as through Hyder region. And then you're going to have snow issues in the morning through the Anchorage Bowl, western Kenai, as well as the Matanuska Valley. And then for Friday's forecast, that strong inclusive system starts pushing in, so that's going to bring a wintry mix to the northern coastal, southeast coastal areas. That's it for today.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
If you're interested in serving on your local Federal Subsistence Regional Advisory Council, the deadline to apply is Friday, February 3rd. Call 1-800-478-1456 for more information.